We won our first game of the season. Fantastic feeling. And not only that, but those lot down the road didn't win theirs. And Mourinho's record of winning every single, well, not just winning, but not losing every single one of his opening games in the Premier League as a manager is gone. This year is going to be great. We're going to win the league. They might as well just hand us the Champions League now. Hello and welcome to the Good It All. Back again with you guys for another show for one of our TGT podcasts, where I'm joined by two of my fantastic regular guests to break down the week's news and, of course, the latest match in which did I mention? I don't think I mentioned that we won. Did I mention we won? I think I did.
Not one.
No,
Can you do it again, please?
We won is what we did. And French, can you just, I don't know if you want to have a look on Sky Sports or something, but can you just check the Spurs score for me? Did they pick up any points?
I don't think that I was it like it was 0-0 for a while, and did they? Calvert. I don't. Yeah.
Did he? I thought it was 0-0. I'm just going to go.
Head on.
Just give me a sec, guys. I'm just going to go on to the. I haven't actually checked. Oh, boys, you're not going to believe. You're not going to believe this. Look! What is that? What's that little number there? Lovely stuff. Absolutely buzzing with that. Of course, I'm joined by Owen and French. Welcome, guys. Owen, how are we doing, mate?
Not too bad yet. Going good. That's even made it even way better. Big win for the Arsenal on opening day, which look, we over the past few years we tend to struggle with, and then my fantasy league team is booming, man. You criticise me so bad for a lot of my choices, and yeah, okay, maybe I made a few sneaky changes in the background, but I'm booming on that. And then now Jose is walking away with his head in his hands, so stick that in your documentary, boys.
True, but I mean, my fantasy team's looking all right. It's looked better. It has looked better, but the Castagna shout for Leicester has bagged me 12 solid points. So I was buzzing with that. Finally, that European knowledge is going for me. Eventually, French. I mean, how have you entered your fantasy team yet in the league? How's that shaping up?
Yeah, it's gone all right. I've just banked on the big boys really. Just lots of like excellent Aubameyang, Salah, Mane, and Havertz in the middle, and then kind of nobody's all around them. I'm trying that technique this season. It's all right. I'm like around the 40-point range. I got a couple of Chelsea players tomorrow, so we'll see how it ends up. But yeah, it's going all right. I wish I had captain Salah. Yeah.
I mean, I was just about to say that. People may have seen on the Raw Reaction show, the picture I used was me putting 3 fingers up. Although some people tweeted me saying it looked like I was only putting 2 up, which was a bit of a very different sort of pose. But it was 3, and I got a lot of texts from my friends saying they print screened the picture of me doing that and put, that's how many goals you would have got had you put Salah as captain. And I hadn't, because I'd put Aubameyang as captain. So, I mean, yeah, I wasn't kind of expecting. I don't even have Salah on my team. So it's it was a case of, it was a little bit irritating to see that happen. But ultimately, the boys came through the win. We did get 3 goals, and that's what matters. Welcome, Chatbox. Thank you so much for joining us for a slightly earlier one in the evening, which is fine. I'm glad that lots of you tuned in. And actually, speaking of earlier, I was up at literally 12 hours ago from now. I'm putting together a tactical breakdown on Gabriel's performance. So if you haven't checked that out already, please make sure you do. But let's jump straight into the show and talk about the game then. So, Owen, I'm going to start with you, fella. First win of the season is really, really important, but there's some really odd decisions before the game kicked off. Seeing some, like Gabriel starting, for instance, was a brave shout. Elneny being in the midfield was a big, big shout. Mainsley, I should say. You should say #Mainsley, sitting up there now as a full member of our border, right above Owen's head there. So some weird choices in the lineup, but he got it tactically spot on.
Yeah, look, as I'm sure people are aware from being on here, I never have a bad word to say about Arteta, but when that team sheet got released yesterday, look, I'm probably same as the majority of people. I had a lot of questions going into the match, as you say. The absence of Saliba was one, which I'm sure we'll maybe touch on later. Elneny being in the side, but again, he sort of proved that we can't doubt him. And really, if you look at it, his selection decisions at all kind of made a bit more sense once you started to see stuff. Elneny has been playing fantastic in pre-season up until that game. So to strip him out and take him away sort of sends the wrong message throughout the squad. And I think he was fantastic. Gabriel, look, Saliba is obviously going to be a fantastic talent, but he's still very young and very inexperienced. And I think what Arteta had banked on was that Gabriel was a little more seasoned than Saliba, and that maybe gave him that bit of extra confidence going into that game. But overall, yeah, fantastic. As I said in our WhatsApp group, that was just a solid 8 out of 10 all round for every single player on the pitch at a minimum. We had a lot of questions going into this game, but I actually think that we've maybe come out with more questions. The likes of but it's people like Lacazette, like Elneny, Rob Holding, Hector Bellerin. People that only last week I was saying that we should opt to maybe move on and that we need to upgrade on them really. And I know it's only one game, we can't get too carried away, but their displays yesterday sort of has me second guessing what my thoughts were only a week ago. So once again, Arteta has made me eat my own words.
He has. I mean, he's made a lot of people eat their own words, it's fair to say. French, let's just touch on something from the chat box quickly. Rodney says, it looks like you're in a Vietnamese massage parlor with your background.
I'm sorry, is that not how you're supposed to? Are you guys not in Vietnamese massage parlors right now?
I mean, I wish I was. Although I feel like that game soothed me enough that I won't need a massage for the next 10 years at this stage. But we'll see how next week goes before we get that confident. But we are top of the league, so it could be worse. But no, we'll carry on sort of with the lineup side of things and look at some of the individual players. Elneny has kind of been a highlight in the chat box before we've jumped on, and he's being called the Egyptian Partey. People are calling out saying we don't even need to spend the money on Partey anymore. What were your thoughts on the Egyptian without going as hyperbolic as some people have?
I was really, really proud of him, man. Did you see the interview he did after?
I saw it uploaded, but I've not caught it yet. Enlighten me.
It was really touching, and it was a combination between what he was saying in terms of feeling aggressive and feeling confident, and Arteta mentioned something about him as well, which was that Elneny felt like he didn't have the trust of the group, and that he wasn't going to be maybe good enough. It felt like his confidence was really down, and Arteta was able to give that back to him and just let him know that he was going to be needed and useful, and it was just really amazing for me to see him perform that way, and after having seen that said about him. So it's just clear to see that Arteta is a fantastic, kind of motivator and leader, and he managed to inspire the kind of confidence to see what Elneny's, to be honest, kind of always been. He's always been like a kind of 6 or 7 out of 10 player. He's always been solid for me. He's always been tidy and careful with the ball. He's not terrible. Because we didn't have him for a while and Emery didn't play him and loaned him out, we kind of forgot what kind of player he was. And maybe he, obviously he's a £5 million player. He's not gonna set the world on fire. But as a squad player, I think he's always been useful. And I think I was actually quite convinced, and I think a few people mentioned it even in the group chat, that it would be interesting to see what Elneny would be like under Arteta. Because obviously Arteta, a midfielder himself, he's managed to make great comebacks for a lot of players that we've been kind of maligned, and so I just had an inkling that maybe he would be useful, and obviously it's, for me, I still do think that we need to be upgrading in terms of mounting a top 4 challenge, or even moving on past that in terms of our first team. But I think he's got a place in the squad in terms of being useful. I definitely think he can be useful over a season. If you look at Carabao Cup and Europa League fixtures, he's definitely got a role to play. And if he's going to be here, then I'm glad that he's performing as great as he is.
Yeah, and the thing is it's all going to be about squad depth. Him coming back, and I hate when people use this saying, and you know exactly what I'm going to say, but it is almost like a new signing in a way. He is coming back into the team. It's a part of the pitch that Arsenal have notoriously struggled with, hence why we are so desperate to try and get in some quality in the transfer window. But just adding some depth in. Elneny going out on loan was always sort of seen as, we're going to try and up his price. Eventually, we'll get some money back for him. We only spent about £5-6 million on him when we brought him from Basel. He was brought in using Stat DNA because his statistics showed that he was really producing some quality performances. And And sometimes you can go too far with stats and they don't always come to fruition in a completely different situation and scenario. And that's kind of what his baptism of fire was when he joined the club, and he went straight into the first team. And it never kind of worked out under Arsene Wenger at first, and then was never really given a shot under Unai Emery, which then led to these loan deals. But he went away, and actually, from speaking to some people that I know watch Turkish football a fair amount, they were very impressed with him over in Turkey playing for Besiktas. And he's kind of translated. He looks bigger as well. He looks more physical than he did before he left, and he's more competitive now in the Premier League than I thought he would be. So I'm really buzzing with the fact that we've got someone in the team that is improved, that is going to provide us with depth. And even if we do sign a Partey or an Aouar, whoever, we've got him there to provide that depth. The same as I was preaching on about with Willian, that we needed to sign someone up that top end like Willian for a small fee that was going to add that depth and quality. But Owen, it doesn't only look like he's adding depth to the team with Willian. It looks like he's adding real starting quality. I mean, retirement home, if we're going to be called that and we're getting players as good as this, I'll take retirement home all day long. 2. You can claim 3 if you're playing fantasy football, but 2 assists really if we think about it. Yeah, talk to me about the Brazilian, mate.
Yeah, man, I was chuffed with this deal even at the beginning when it was just being reported. I think a lot of people overlooked Willian's quality. I believed, and I'm sure you can back me up when I say this, I said very early on that I considered Willian to be one of the most underrated players in the Premier League, and he has been for a brave few years. Another player like Aubameyang, who shows no real sign of slowing down at all. I think the thing is that he brings a completely different dimension to the way we play. Immediately early on, you could see the cohesiveness between that front three. It was just fantastic. The movement, the passing, everything was just done so fast and smooth. And I attribute that a lot to him. Even when you look at his second assist, was it his second assist for Aubameyang? Yeah. What do you call it? He's got that many assists, I can't keep up. No, but I think if you have Pepe playing on the right wing, you don't see that ball being hit. Just the quality, the patience, how calm he is to pick his head up, pick out that ball and hit it over. And funnily, John put 2 images into our group chat of his Aubameyang's goal against Liverpool and his goal against Fulham yesterday, and it was a complete mirror image, not even just where Aubameyang was or where the pass was hit from, but where other players were as well surround him. So that's obviously something being drilled into him, and I think it's Willian's experience that will sort of serve him well, making them tactical adjustments and really putting them into practice within the side. And in my opinion, I think Pepe could be struggling to get into the side this season while he's there. But look, that's going to serve him so well to be learning from a player like Willian, and to maybe what one criticism I have with Pepe maybe is I think sometimes his body works too fast for his head, or he doesn't really think things out before he does them. He just overcommits too early, and to have someone with the knowledge of the game like Willian for Pepe to learn from can only be good for us in the long run.
It can. I just want to touch quickly. You brought up 2 players there, Willian and Aubameyang. They're 2 players that you have covered for us on the website in terms of your biographical series. What we're going to do very quickly as we do a brief interlude is we want some suggestions from you guys as to who Owen should be covering next in his biographical series. If you haven't checked it out yet, link is in the description to the website, and you can go onto all of Owen's biographies that he's done so far. You've done some really great ones, Owen. So I mean, Martinez was a personal favourite, I think, but you've not just done present players, you've done past players as well, looking at Dennis Bergkamp too. And so we want some suggestions for what Owen could cover. So we're going to take some selections from you guys in the chat, and then we're going to put a poll out on Twitter a little bit later on this evening, and then that winner will be who Owen then puts the work in to cover for the next one. So if you've got any suggestions for Owen about what players he should be covering for the Arsenal, then throw them into the chat box now. French, there were other players on the pitch that also deserve a hell of a lot of credit. I think Elneny's midfield partner, Granit Xhaka, and what I want to kind of do is combine him with 2 other players on the pitch that he formed a bit of a triangle with. I talked about this with Raf yesterday on the player rating show, and Granit Xhaka and Tierney and Maitland-Niles kind of form this fantastic sort of triangle between them that tactically they're so aware of where each other are on the pitch and where they need to be. When Tierney pushes up, Xhaka drops in. When Maitland-Niles pushes up, then you've got Tierney that's dropping in as well, and Xhaka can then push up. These three just seem to work in perfect harmony in covering each other's positions. And not only that, but it works on the right-hand side. And we talked about it with Gabriel's performance, which we'll come into in a second, with how Bellerin covers him when he steps out. But with those three specifically, that left-hand side in the combination with Aubameyang looks a real threat. And do you think that's now, even with Willian on the right, easily our most threatening part of the pitch?
I mean, I would say it definitely. I would say we definitely don't use the right as much in terms of how we progress. I think every time I've noticed that it comes out to the right, it tends to just switch back out to the left again, and that's where the goal obviously comes from in the end. We do go on either side of the wings. I would say certainly the middle of the pitch is the bit we're avoiding for sure in terms of how we're building up play and where our most threatening angles are. The rotation between those three is just excellent coaching, and the way that they're responding to those instructions is fantastic. You have to give them a lot of credit for that as well. I mean, that's always been something that we've known about Xhaka in terms of he'll do what the boss tells him, and you've always had given him credit for that. But Maitland-Niles, I think, is someone who deserves a lot of respect for that as well, because he's learning
what's his name in French? Sorry, what's his name?
Oh, Mainsley. Sorry.
There we go.
Hashtag Mainsley. Hashtag Mainsley. It just deserves a huge amount of credit as well for the way that he's adapting to this kind of left wing back, tucking into the midfield position. I think he had one cross on his left foot that was quite nice. I think Lacazette might have gotten ahead to, or should have. He just was it was just clear that he's been working in that area, and I think it's very interesting, isn't it? Like, you wonder how it's going to play out in terms of where's Mainsley going to end up playing. Is he going to be a left wing back? Is he going to be a right back? For the moment, it looks like that what's going right now is working really well. And so you think, if it's not broke, don't try and fix it. So, I mean, I could see him staying on that left wing for a little while. And yeah, we certainly do progress play up there really, really well. I mean, I remember in the Man City game, that's where a lot of our attacks were starting off and again switch back out to the right and back out to the left again, just all the time avoiding that midfield as frantically as possible. But certainly from the wings, we're quite clinical, and the way we build up play is clearly very drilled and very coached, and it's really, really nice to see. And it's quite a brave way of attacking as well. It feels like, from a sort of a neutral or someone who doesn't really want to give Arsenal credit, they're going to look at it and say, you're just parking the bus and you're just they're not really giving credit to the patterns of play and the kind of different new ways that we're approaching the game in terms of formation and how fluid it is. And it's it's just really refreshing and fantastic to see.
It is really refreshing to see. And if Mainsley can kind of make that position his own, where he's that inverted style player, I think it serves really well to have him and Aubameyang overlapping all the time. He can cover, because we know how good defensively he has grown in the last 6 months, or 9 months, I suppose I should say, with the break that we've had. And the way that he can then cover Tierney when Tierney pushes forward, he might really have an opportunity to make that position really strong for him. And I think it's really important that he does continue to develop as a first-team player for Arsenal. And he just provides us with so much cover and so much utility that I think the 20 million quid that you would have got for him is just not worth us losing him for. I don't think you're going to get a player as good as Mainsley for what he does on different parts of the pitch for 20 million quid. I just don't think it's worth to sell it. Owen, let's get a bit more grounded now, and we can be as exaggerative and as happy about this win as feasibly possible. But let me ask you a more tricky question. How much of that game was Arsenal being good, and how much of that game was Fulham being not so good?
Look, obviously, there's a huge gap in quality in terms of the individual players on the pitch there. But to say if Fulham aren't good is, I don't know, maybe another bit of a little bit of an overreaction. I think they're a good side. They definitely 100% work very hard off the ball. But I think it was more that we nullified their strength more than they were bad. Again, this is becoming a regular habit, man. I need to stop saying stuff. I don't even know why I come onto the podcast, but again, I've been made to sort of eat my own words, because it was only just last week that I said that I didn't see the 3-4-3 as a sustainable formation for a full season, because I thought that it would only really work against teams that were willing to come out and try and press you heavy at the back, and then hit them on the counter. But that just wasn't the case yesterday. I think we worked very, very hard off the ball. We pressed them. Xhaka and Elneny were just unbelievably good in midfield. But again, I put that down to Willian. I always said that I just thought we lacked a bit of creativity within that formation, and with Willian drifting a little bit more centrally at times, I think he provides that there. This is a very good game for us, I think, because I think that if we had to come up against a City or a Liverpool or even a United, Chelsea, Tottenham, we maybe wouldn't have seen what we've seen as clearly as we did. But look, these changes aren't coincidental. It isn't because of the level of opposition. I was just absolutely blown away at how smoothly we were defending. Now, when I say defend, I don't mean tackles. I mean, but our shape, when we were out of possession and at the back, where everyone was, it just looked so smooth and so well drilled. I think when you were doing the tactical breakdown earlier, Tom, on Gabriel, you did a still shot of Gabriel coming out to close the ball down, and how that the other three players at the back tucked in beside him. That's something we haven't seen for so long at Arsenal. And look, that isn't high level defending. That's basic. I do that with my own football team. Essentially, look, anybody that plays football, a good little drill you can do to learn that is, if you get a length of rope at about 40 feet long, give it to them 4 defenders, and when one of them runs out, it naturally pulls them in. It's that simple to learn how to do, but it's something that we haven't seen. And to start to see them progressions so quick. Remember, how long has it been since the FA Cup final? When was that? It's about a month.
Yeah, about just over a month ago.
The difference in a month, we have gone from a team that at the end of last season, we were doing well defensively because it was an attitude thing. It was a willingness to work off the ball. But in that month, now it has become so well drilled and so impressive that, again, it just reiterates the point that Mikel Arteta is definitely the man to take us forward.
I love this comment from Christopher Fung in the chat, who says, I love how Owen always says that he has no idea what he's talking about, but goes on with a long and sensible monologue.
Is it really sensible? Is it really?
The thing is, what I notice about you, Owen, is in these shows is that you say things and you say that, oh, I have to eat my words because I said this thing 2 weeks ago and now I don't agree with that. But that's the whole point of this. And it really frustrates me that so many people, especially on like that come onto the shows on not just me, but elsewhere, and say one thing and then you can be so proud of that opinion that you desperately don't want to change your mind. But it's such a mature thing when you just turn around and say, I'm going to hold my hands up and be like, I don't think that anymore. I've changed my mind, and what I've seen has changed my mind. And I think if you can't go into watching football with that attitude, I don't really know how you could be on social media, because you would just get into so many arguments all the time.
I think the thing is, as well, is that we have to remember, look, and as much as we love football, and you have to surrender to the fact that, yes, we can have an opinion. What's that old saying? Everybody's an opinion's like a what? Everybody has one, but but the truth is that when you really sit and think about it, you're being critical of people who do this for a living, people that this is their sole role in life and their sole commitment, and they have been students of the game for even longer than some of us have been alive. So look, I think if you sort of hold any moral high ground or criticize people too much, or you're willing not to change your opinion, maybe you shouldn't be putting your own opinions out there.
That's the thing is, I remember coming on about a year ago and being like, I can't see Eddie Nketiah and Joe Willock making it at Arsenal. Now, there is nothing more that I would want to see than those two turn around and prove me so wrong and make me eat my words, because I want them to succeed. It was just a pure judgment in that time and place. I'm hoping that what Nketiah can do can take this form from the England under-21s, in which he's been absolutely on fire for, and bring that into the first team at some stage. Because in the benefit is that Arsenal wouldn't have to go out and spend a lot of money on bringing in a replacement for Lacazette when he eventually moves on. So it'd be amazing if he could do that. I still have a lot of doubts about it, but I would love it if I was wrong on that. We've had a super chat donation. Thank you ever so much from Bongish. I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, mate. He says, Arsenal did offer him a new contract. He wanted to be the #1 goalkeeper. With Leno fit, you can't commit to straight away. He wanted to go. By the way, I'm watching from India. Thank you ever so much for tuning in from India. And you nicely segue us onto our next piece of business. I feel like we've covered the game a lot in depth, and actually on tomorrow's show with myself and Drew on the Tactical Breakdown podcast, we're going to talk about that game even more in detail with even more tactics. So we're going to pause the Fulham stuff just for now and move on to the latest piece of news, which is that Emiliano Martinez has moved from Arsenal to Aston Villa. We're waiting for the official confirmation, but at the moment, as soon as Fabrizio Romano tweets out anything, it just seems as though that is it. That's all Arsenal fans need these days. French, it's a sad day, I think, because this guy's been at the club for 10 years. It was massively emotional when he won the FA Cup, and you could see him. He was so emotional himself when he won it. And a lot of people, myself included, if you were asked after that game who starts the first Premier League game of the season, for me, it was always going to be Martinez. We've been given this opportunity by Villa to sell a keeper that 12 months ago, maybe not even that, 9 months ago in January, had a team come in with £5 million for him. A lot of people would have probably bitten your arm off for that. And now he's going for around 4 times that amount. I see it as absolutely unreal business, to be honest. But what are your thoughts around it?
I think it's bittersweet. I wouldn't even say I'm sad, to be perfectly honest, because he wants to play first team football. You know, he's at that stage in his career where he deserves first team football if he wants to make a shout for the Argentine, first place spot. And yeah, it's what do they say? Don't be sad because it's over. Be happy that it happened. He had an incredible finish to an Arsenal, a decade at Arsenal. He came out where no one expected him to perform in the way he did. He was amazing. He won us 2 trophies, and he was fantastic the whole way out. And it's, like I said, it's bittersweet. But for me, it's positive in the sense that while we can hopefully see most of this money go towards the reinforcements that we need to see elsewhere. And you have to be a bit ruthless about it. I mean, that's football, that's business, And so for me, as soon as I started to see him perform well, I remember putting it in the group chat after a couple of games. I was like, okay, that might be a sale, because his stock value is going up and Leno, is the #1. Now, I agree, I would have actually started Martinez if we could keep him for another year, just to make the decision a year later after seeing what we really have in Martinez, seeing if he can be the Arsenal #1 keeper over a longer period of time. But given the fact he didn't want to sign a new contract, as Bongish said, it's something that we had to do. And actually, it's great that we were able to extract that kind of value for him. As you say, 20 million from 5 million in 6 months is it's a great opportunity to raise some funds. And if you think about the self-sustaining model that we're committed to as a business, we have to do things like this. You look at a team like, say, Liverpool, for example, who are the kind of epitome of how to self-sustain and get to where we want to be getting to. They sold Coutinho, and with that money, they managed to bring in their Van Dijks and their Alissons. And so, Emiliano Martinez for us is something that it hurts, but at the same time, it's something that you see we have to do it to get the kind of money for the reinforcements that we so desperately need in certain areas. And by all accounts, these are our top targets, the 2 who shall not be named. And so if we can get some funding for them, I think obviously Torreira is also apparently by all accounts on his way out. We haven't seen him feature. And so for me, that's already maybe 40, 45 million, isn't that part of his release clause? Or 2/3 of Aouar. So for me, it's a good thing. It's a good day, but it's also bittersweet. I can see why a lot of people would be sad about it, but for me, it's kind of ruthless FC. And I'm happy that he's Premier League still. He's going to be playing first team football. For him, he achieved his dream of being Arsenal #1 for a short period of time and winning a trophy. So, it's a lovely end to his decade here, and I wish him all the best.
Yeah, for sure. It is. I think it's sad. I get the other point of view. I think he has fulfilled sort of what he could do, and I'm trying to look at this as in, imagine if we'd have sold Leno instead this summer. Martinez has shown in a very, very short space of time with a very small sort of sample size to show the quality keeper that he is. But there was no guarantee that quality would have extended into a full season. Martinez has never played a full season as a Premier League #1 goalkeeper. He's been given loan spells, he's given appearances here and there. And at the time, and we know, Arsenal fans and myself included, and I'm sure you guys too, can be some of the most reactionary people in the world. We know that. It's just how we live our lives as Arsenal fans, is very reactionary. And I think that we look at what's happening in the short term and think it can happen in an extended period. But there is no genuine guarantee that Martinez would have carried on to be this amazing goalkeeper. And for me, we knew that Leno had that consistent quality in a period of time in which under Unai Emery, we consistently conceded so many shots, were under so much pressure and such an absorbing, negative, passive style of play. Leno got us out of trouble so many times. I think he came second still in the player of the season vote. And I think that just goes to show what a goalkeeper he still is. And maybe how frivolous we were in saying, yeah, let's just bun him off and get 30 million for him and move on. French, you want to make a point quickly?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And I mean, what I was going to say is that the thing about it is both of them, either of them are realistically good enough to get us into where we want to be, you know, for the next stage, which is top four, from what we can see, you know, because if you think about Chelsea managed to get top four with Kepa, you know, De Gea has not been performing great. I think Martinez, you know, is arguably I would say he's definitely better than Kepa, you know, even based off what little we saw. But really it came up to both of them are good enough to get to where we want to go. Who's going to give us money right now? Because we need money right now for other places. If we didn't, we might have been able to say, right, we've got him contracted for what, 3 more years, you can stay another year so we can see what we can get out of you. But at the same time, his value might have fallen if we kept him another year. So for me, it was the right business decision to make. And yeah, I again, wish him all the best. I'm sure he's going to do well at Villa.
Owen, this is where I now defer to you to get your expert insight on the replacement runner, Alex Runnison. I know you've been watching him all season. You've been watching him play in training. You've been going over to Dijon to watch him in those training drills. So what have you actually seen? He's
absolutely tripe.
That's probably why he's going for 1.5 million.
To be completely honest with you, I know nothing about the kid at all.
Really?
Nothing. No,
how could you? You're an expert member, Owen. How could you know nothing of this player?
I'm sorry, I'll downgrade my membership then. It's let's not go too far. No, the only thing the only point I really have on that is that I think that, look, if we're going after someone who, I think it was Drew firing in a few things into the chat, and if we're going by someone who was apparently the worst statistically, the worst keeper in that league in that season, it just shows you what this club thinks of Matt Macy, and I'm blown away as to why, if they think so little of him and they're looking to take somebody in to deputise under Leno, why is he still here? You know, I understand it can be tough to move players on and stuff, and I know whether how much he's on, or is he earning a cushy living? Does he not think he's going to get as much money somewhere else? But I don't know, man. He must have no.
What's up, guys?
There's an expert. He watched the tactical breakdown on this kid.
John,
I don't even know what his name is.
This is what I don't know. And as soon as you said that you didn't really know too much about runner Alex Runnison, what I thought I would do is go and find the expert on the Icelandic national team. John, what can we expect from this runner Alexson?
I think that you're gonna be able to see him if he signs for us in one of the either the away or the home Arsenal kit. And, you know, he'll be on the team at some point, maybe, if he signs for us. And that's the extent that I got.
Wow, that's the most insight I think we're going to get, to be honest.
I've got a tiny bit of insight. It's probably completely useless. Then you probably all read it. It's something about him having crossed with that goalkeeping coach that we brought in Africana.
Yes,
and
that is the genuine piece of information we know.
French is dropping knowledge.
Get off here. This is not the right show for you, French. This is not the right show. That is too legitimately sound to be fired on this show. No.
Well, that's all I got. So
I checked it out on Twitter. Country Boy John at John_Mark95 has just DM'd me and thrown me a link to whoscored.com where they have a page on him. It's just like a Transfermarkt or Soccerway page on him, basically. And it says, there's a section that says, Runar Alex Runnarsson's characteristics. His strengths are long passing. His weaknesses, saving close range shots, catching crosses, and saving long shots. Basically,
he's good at being a midfielder, but not a goalkeeper.
Yeah, he could be a midfielder. It also says his style of play comes off his line often, but one of his weaknesses is catching crosses. So I'm not sure. I'm not quite too sure.
What exactly is he doing when he's coming off the line?
I don't know. Unbelievable stuff. John, it's nice to have you on, mate. You dropped me a text say you were around, so I thought, yeah, why not? Let's hop John. The boys have sort of had their say on the game yesterday, but it'd be rude of me not to give you a chance to tell me what you think. So go for it, mate.
Yeah, it was great. You know, it was one of those like everyone's like, oh, it's just Fulham, but you know, you can only play who's in front of you, and you got to do it in a way that shows there's some kind of cohesiveness. And if you see the actual goal, like Aubameyang's goal, like we've seen that goal. I'm sure you guys talked about it. We've seen that goal before a couple times, and it's clear that
you
put in the WhatsApp group. So
yeah, you look, and I mean, it's definitely something that we've been doing, and that's kind of what we've been asking for, right? We want to look at the pitch and say, okay, this is, you know, we know exactly what the game plan was and what we're trying to do here and there, and we haven't been able to say that for a long time. Even under Emery, it was like, we thought the game plan was just kind of being aggressive, but then we weren't getting any results and it wasn't really working. But now it's like, it's absolutely clear. You could see that what the game plan was, and you could see the players affecting it. And, you know, that's it. So we won. Gabriel had a great debut. Can ask for more. Clean sheet, away from home, away win, 3 points. Willian getting on the assist sheet. I mean, it was great. It was a good match to watch. It was fun.
Wasn't it me and you who called a potential Elneny remontada before the Community Shield?
No, that was he said it was going to be terrible.
I've done it on another group chat as well, and I got absolutely slated for it. And I was going, look, I'm telling you, the guy every time he's ever played for us, he's been a solid between 6 and 8 out of 10 player. And yeah. And it's not like he's a game changer, right? But you know, you're going to get effort from him. You know that he's going to do a job. So I'm really happy to see it. And like, his interview was great. Did you guys see his interview?
Yeah, we talked about it earlier on.
Great minds, John. Great minds.
Yeah, Rich brought up the same point earlier on. I have to say, John, the only thing I took from that is that you're in another WhatsApp group to ours. What's that about?
Yeah, sorry.
Right, let's go on to question time. We're going to be around for about 15 to 20 minutes more. We were going to be on for another hour, but John came on and I'm already bored. So if you want to throw some questions in to the chat box, please feel free to do that. But whilst we wait for that, there's kind of some stuff that needs to happen before the end of the window. I want to touch on the midfield very quickly, John, and that is just to talk about Elneny and Xhaka playing as a 2. We play with a back 3. The long-term view is that we could go to a back 4. Do you see us genuinely, I know this is a horrible question, bringing in a reinforcement into the midfield?
Do I realistically?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we could. And oh man, so you mean either Partey or Aouar?
I didn't name any names.
I think we'll at least get one. I know it's clear that that's what we're trying to do, right? And I think that I'd like to see a creative type player because I feel like that's going to bring more to us right now. But like, I don't think we would go wrong and I've mentioned this, I've said this before, I don't think we can go wrong with either of I'm not even going to say their names. We all know who we're talking about with either of those kind of players. But are you talking about tactically or like an actual player?
An actual player, mate. Like a genuine player that can kick a ball around.
Yeah, well, I think we could, and I think that that's what we're trying to do. If you're believing what everyone's saying right now, and you know, we're seeing players go out. Looks like Emmy's going to leave soon, so and Torreira is still kind of a discussion. So look, I mean, they're trying to make moves. So they at least get the sense, like the aura around the club is that we're trying to get a midfielder, which I think is a good thing, because even though we played really well, I thought we lacked a little bit of creativity in the midfield. I think a lot of our chances were from players like Willian, for example, and Xhaka putting the passes out, and Willian just kind of coming up with stuff. Like the Aubameyang goal came when Lacazette lost the ball, and then Willian kind of just jumped in and then, passed the ball out to Lacazette or to Aubameyang, and he did his little thing. So yeah, I think a midfielder coming in, we do need some creativity, but if they want to bring in that holding type, I think that would help as well, because it would free up players in front of him, as we've talked about what the DM could bring to the side. We've talked about that before.
Last question, John, before we go to questions. Did you watch the Gabriel tactical breakdown this morning?
I'm sure it was great.
What?
Here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? I feel like I've already. It's like my thing now that I promote them, but I'm not actually watching them.
just
The lack of commitment. Hector Halloran. Look, I know everything you say, and
I'll tell you what. I will make you a promise that the next time I come on here, I would have watched the tactical breakdown. No, but I've seen them before. They're really good. They are really good. But I never actually see them before I come on.
How do you know?
I do watch them. I know they're there. I just haven't seen them before I come here.
Right, let's go to questions, boys. There are quite a few, so if we can keep our answers short and sweet. Owen, starting with you, mate. Carl Halberg, who has the best beard among you guys, and why is it John?
no, mine's terrible, to be honest with you. What I'm doing is I've told my missus I'm not cutting my hair and I'm not shaving my beard until this transfer window is done, so you can visibly see the stress I'm under. That's I'm just going to look worse and worse week by week. I'm going to look like Hagrid from Harry Potter by the end of the window.
I love that when I asked that question, French started just putting the bottom of his chin towards the camera a little bit more, just putting it in view.
Oh no, I already saw it, and I've requested a top 4 of the beards. I want a ranking.
I know where I'm coming.
We'll do it. That's the next tactical breakdown.
It is. Tactical breakdown of TGT regular beards. That's what it's going to be. You got an easy question, French, from Freddie McNay. Partey or Aouar?
I was thinking about this today, actually. I was just racking my brains, like, what do we need? Has Mohamed really changed my mind? I started off the season by thinking Aouar, and I'm going to stick to Partey.
Are you sure?
What did my heart just say? It just said Aouar, didn't it? My God. Yeah. I'm going with the brain. The brain says Partey, because for me, I still think we lack that kind of that extra height, that physicality, along with the kind of ball progression that Partey brings. People say Aouar because he brings ball progression, but I don't think a lot of those people have seen your second tactical breakdown there, because he does obviously progress the ball very well from deep and breaks through the lines, particularly for a player of his size. He's much more than just a box to box, or that kind of holding midfielder. So I would say Partey.
John Alexander Lawson. I nearly said Lacazette because the RE at the end of Alexander is there. Very nice. If this formation is working well, why would we change to a 4 at the back?
Well, I think it really depends on how Arteta views the future of the midfield and what the shape of the midfield is going to look like. All right. Right now, I think that with the players he has at his disposal, when you consider exactly what he wants to do from an attacking perspective, and specifically when we're off the ball, what he wants to do off the ball, I think that you need to, when you consider what he's trying to do, that really affects what he does with the midfield. So if, just to answer your question, if it's working well right now, the only reason he would change it is to, like I said, is depending on what he does with the midfield. Because other than that, because if he doesn't, then he's just going to keep it the way it is, because it is working. But look, it's one match right now, in the Premier League. So I do take that with a grain of salt, and it's a team that was just promoted. So all of that being said,
I think what I'd say to that is that when we were talking about when we did like the preview shows, which I know you've watched, John, and we talked about all the sort of the games leading up, was that we were asked questions by people saying that we're not going to play 3-4-3 against Fulham. We're going to play a 4 because it's a more offensive style to play 4 at the back, because your wing backs get high up, and then we'll play this 3 at the back against the bigger teams, and then we can counter. But the thing is we just won 3-0 with a very commanding display with
the
three at the back.
Yeah.
And why change? I'd like genuinely.
So it is a good question, and I think that really remember one thing that Wenger was always kind of criticized for, and whether it was fairly or not, I'm not here to argue about it, but was that there's never really a plan B, right? And I think that with Arteta, you're going to see a lot more options in terms of tactical flexibility, and I think that that's important for us. So to know that we can go to a back three and still be an offensive team is extremely promising, in my opinion, because it allows us to still be able to kind of, to really solidify a defensive shape, which we did extremely well against Fulham, or at least know that we have the ability to do that, and the players have the confidence to know that if they're still at a back three, they could still be offensive and keep a good defensive shape.
Yeah, so I just have one small point to add on with regards to why change. It's like we have to. Well, Fulham was still having a go. To be completely fair to them, they didn't sit, two banks of four behind the ball and just sort of waited for us to attack. They actually tried to press us, about in the middle of the pitch, and they were coming forward and they were attacking. We defended incredibly well, but I think there are still going to be teams that sit in a little bit deeper. And it's not to say the back three won't work against them, but I don't think we've seen that play out in that Fulham game, for example. For me, that was a game where Fulham really had a go, and fair play to them for doing so. But that was, I think they should have been scared of pressing us. They didn't really respect us. They just kind of went for us, and it was working in the first few minutes. But obviously, we ended up kind of opening them up, and it was a fantastic finish. But I think some teams will, obviously, I think the lower kind of teams are going to be scared of pressing us if we keep doing this. So we are going to have different challenges, and that might require a different formation.
I think what you talk about, we talk about the fluidity, and if you could do the honours by pointing upwards, our boy Mainsley, in terms of other side, there you go, there he's found him. Our boy Mainsley, he provides us the ability to change to a back four by playing sort of on that side, because he then sort of goes into the midfield as the midfield then become a three with Xhaka and Elneny. Xhaka can either drop in and Tierney can push up, and they kind of interchange, and then we do kind of become a 4-3-3 with how Maitland-Niles plays, and we also do it with Bellerin on the other side, and they kind of alternate depending on the side of the field that we're attacking in. So I think that there is scope for the fluidity of the team to change in formation, even though we start out on paper as a back three. But I think you're 100% spot on. There are games in which we will need to shift into a much more offensive style of play, especially say when we go 1-0 down and we've only got a few minutes left to play and we need to grab a point or we need to grab a win. That's those scenarios where it will happen. But from the start, I've got absolutely no problem at all with us sticking to this formation for now. That's probably the longest answer to a question we've done on the show, but we've done it. So let's try and rattle through the rest of them. Owen, Christopher Fung says, what will you miss most about Emmy with him leaving for Villa?
Man, bro, I love that man. Just how commanding he is. Look, as I've mentioned before, the whole way through my life playing football, I've always played as a centre half, and I think if you had asked me out of Leno or Martinez which keeper I would rather have playing behind me, it would be Emiliano Martinez, that commanding figure. And I know. Let me follow on from this before anybody criticizes me. I think the situation yesterday with it was a combination of ours when Maitland-Niles played a sort of bad ball back towards Gabriel. Gabriel left it, and then Leno come out and collected. Made the save. I don't think that would have been as bad with Em either. I think that Emmy would have took Gabriel on the ball for a start. And I think that Leno's positioning was questionable at that. I don't think he should have been as far centrally to his box when the ball was out that wing. So look, as Fran said, it's bittersweet. He's moving on to get what he wanted, and as sad as it is, it's sort of good for him personally to see,
Yeah, it is. I think it is a good move for him, and ultimately he wants that dream of playing in the Argentina national team and being their number one. And I think hopefully it will set him on the path to do that. French, Mike Hernandez, one of our fantastic members, says Guendouzi has been more active online involving Arsenal. Do you think this is a PR move to sell him, or do you think he will actually be involved this season?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both, to be honest. My gut feeling was that if we didn't see him on the bench in this first game, then it was just pure PR. But if it still doesn't happen, if a move still doesn't occur, then it's kind of well placed to integrate him back into the team, isn't it? You know, it wouldn't be as kind of a you know, cold turkey or whatever the reverse of that is, when you're just bringing someone back in kind of out of the blue after him being completely in the cold. So he's kind of being more involved. He's in the public training sessions. We're seeing him, you know, in photos training with the rest of the team. He's still not making the bench, but it's like a slow integration process, whilst also saying, you know, he's not as bad as we said he was earlier. I promise. He's a nice kid, really, to everyone who might want to buy him. So I think it's a little bit of both, just kind of covering our tracks and yeah, making sure that if we need to bring him back in, it will be a bit of a smoother process.
John Avinash Singh says, with the formation and all the midfielders present, where do you see Emile Smith-Rowe ending up this season?
That's a great question. I think that it really, once again, depends on if we make any more signings, because if we make another midfield signing, which it looks like we're trying to do, it becomes harder for ESR to get into the team, right? But obviously, I've said this before, I think that he's a great talent, and I think that this would be a great season for him, especially in Europa, to kind of do the same thing that like Saka was able to do under Emery and Martinelli, where they were able to really shine in the Europa League. I feel like that would be a good spot for Smith-Rowe. And I think that we're going to need maybe a little bit of depth in there. I know that sounds weird when you have like Ozil and Elneny and all those players, and it's a really hard question to answer. That's why I'm saying it's such a good one, partially because it really depends on what we do in the summer in terms of bringing in midfielders. Assuming that we get someone who's going to play regularly, I still think that Smith-Rowe will have a role, as I said, in the Europa League. But I could also see them maybe considering loaning him out again. I personally would like to see him play because I really like him as a player, and I think that he definitely has a future here. I hope he does, because I think he is talented, and I think that he does bring a little bit of that kind of, I don't want to say Jack Wilshere kind of midfield, you know, because I think that that's kind of loaded, and I don't want to, you know, maybe jinx his Arsenal career here, but I think that he is a talent, and I'd like to see him play. So I think Europa would be a good avenue of that.
Yeah, I'd like to just sort of jump in there, sort of following on from the Amy Lano thing. Look, there's comments flying into the chat, and something that I've been seeing. Look, and this isn't just here; it's on multiple platforms. I think a habit that we need to get out of as fans is that when we say, like, for example, I say that I think that Amy Martinez is a more complete keeper than Bird Leno, or I think that Mainsley could be a better right back than Bellerin, or that I think that Abba should play centrally over Laka. You're not trashing the other person, you know, within that conversation. Bird Leno is undoubtedly a fantastic goalkeeper. Hector Bellerin is undoubtedly a great right back. Laka is a brilliant centre forward. When we say that we prefer something tactically, or we say that we see somebody maybe offering more to the team within that position, it doesn't mean that we're bashing that other person, you know. At the end of the day, look, we're all Arsenal fans. We all love the club, and anybody, literally anybody. I remember absolutely fuming the day that Danny Welbeck signed for us. It doesn't mean once he pulled that jersey on that I hated him the whole time he was here, you know. So I think that people sort of need to understand that when we're making sort of judgments on players or anything, that it's never a bash, you know.
Criticism is criticism. I mean,
yeah,
you go other places for abuse on players, but I won't name names, but you know where to go. French, we've had some responses to your beard ranking. There was Christopher Fung proper went in on John a second ago, which it was clearly a joke, but it was quite funny. Saying, I like John more when Tom was reading his opinion off a piece of paper, which of course we did when John wasn't able to make our show the other day.
Thanks, Chris. Really appreciate it. I'm glad to know that you're taking my insights to heart.
Chris is the number one fan, because he also says clearly Tom's beard is the best.
So he's drunk. All right, that's okay.
But Freddie McNay's got good news for you, John, because he says that you're clear in that regard. Carl Halberg, who is a very nice guy, but not here, who says it isn't Tom, French, which is fair enough. And then the best answer of the evening we got was from MYT, who says he likes Lee Judge's beard. So
I'm concerned about this chat today.
You don't know what happened before you joined. It was it's been a comedy show this evening. We've been laughing and enjoying ourselves. So I mean, what other way can you want a podcast about Arsenal these days? But yeah, fantastic questions, guys. Really appreciate you giving a shout to us and helping support the channel. Speaking of which, before we do wrap up, I want to give a massive thank you to our expert members. There is now a lot of you, as you can see, and we really appreciate everything you're helping us do, whether it's supporting us with the channel financially and enabling us to sort of improve our software, improving the hardware with the microphones, accessing things like Y-Scout so that I can make those tactical breakdowns of Gabriel that John loves so much. That I need to have. He knows it's coming every time I say it now. I can't help it. But thank you to Ed, Easy Iowa, who came on the show. Of course, if you want to join up as an expert member, you get the chance to come on the show and get an appearance on the channel as well as getting access to exclusive content. I'll be interviewing Raf for the Plus Members podcast next week. I'll also be interviewing a special guest for our expert members podcast from a journalistic side of things this month too. As you've probably seen in the chat box, people get their own icons. If members, if you could show people what they get by using the chat box, you get access to your own emojis, which you can throw up in there. I believe that John and French's should be available. Owen, when we get a few more members, I can actually add Owen's to it. They basically unlock the more members that we get. So as soon as we have enough members, you'll get your very own Owen emoji, which is quite cool. But you can throw those emojis. Is it in there? Can you use yours?
Look, I'm backing in now. There it is.
I must have changed it around. Awesome. So there, he's got him there. The real Janice says Tom should have John on one of the tactical breakdowns, so he can't actually miss it.
Yes.
Which would be great. But thank you to Easy Old Ed who came on. Abdullah has also been on. Root Cause, Grass Patch, Afnan. Zamir, who has also been on as well, Jack Perry, Chris P, Victor, Iron Carb, Mahir, Ashwin Watkins, Owen, who I think has been on the show at some point, Mike Hernandez has been on, Carl, Gary, Matt, Abid97, Jasmeet, The Real Janice, Gunner SS, MRT, Olisola, Glenn, who's been on the show a couple of times too, Mosaic, PMHK, Brian Robles, Jared Carver, who's been on too, Aaron Letchford, Alex McCarthy, Avon Teddington. We've got Daniel Robert. I'm just quickly clicking off this so I can actually see them on the bottom. Carter Stage, From Dalstair to Where, Rohit, Emmanuel Ojo, and Robert Parker. Robert Parker's been on the channel as well, and he was excellent last time too with Ed and with Carter as well, who came on last time. There is going to be a step up in the amount of these shows that we do in the month because there are now so many of you that are so thankfully signing up to the channel to help support us that I'm going to be trying to step up the frequency of these expert members podcasts so more of you guys can get the opportunity to come on the show and have a chat with myself, and I might even try and get a couple of the regulars on so you can chat to them as well. It's been a pleasure to speak to you guys as always. Owen, thank you very much, mate, for coming on this evening.
No worries, absolute pleasure. And lads, look, if you're a member, the way I viewed it when I was signing up to my membership was if I met that geezer here, sorry, I always get confused in the direction. Which way? That way. Both ways. If you met that geezer in the pub, you'd buy him a pint. So that essentially that's all you're doing. You know what I mean?
Just, you don't watch your content.
Wait, sorry, hold on a second. Wait, are you two boys expert members?
No, they're not. They're not.
Oh, Jesus, members. Lads, come on. Come on.
I'm so glad I came on here today, by the way. I'm really enjoying myself.
I'll take this up every podcast I'm on if I don't see both your names in that expert sheet next time, man. No, but honestly, here, cheers for having us on again. And you can check me out on Twitter, and my bio pieces will be coming out. I'll be interested to see who has been selected for me to cover this week. So
yeah, without seeming like we're too up each other's backsides, as honestly Owen coming on the show and obviously joining up with our writers group and producing some articles. I'm trying to press French to get an article out for us. He is going to do it at some point. I'm going to keep leaning on him until he gets one out. But thank you, French, for coming on, mate. Real pleasure as always, man.
Yeah, man, it's been a lot of fun, a lot of laughs, and I bet the Spurs podcast, if they exist, won't be so happy.
Yeah, the Athletic definitely do one. So if we can check that one out, definitely tune in for that one. It'll be a nice somber. It'll be as happy as the documentary that's come out. So
we should do a watch along for the documentary. What?
Yes. Just called Nothing. That's just, it's not all of it, it's just Nothing. Unreal. John, you're going to get a quick goodbye without an insult. You've been great, mate. Thank you.
There you go.
Oh, wow. Oh, Oh, dearie me.
I
Thank
love
you.
the show.
Thank you, John. If you would like to join John in the expert members crew, then you're joining an absolutely fantastic group of guys. Other than John, I couldn't help it. I'm sorry. I can't help it. Oh, dearie me.
Oh
Thank
man,
you.
that's great.
I appreciate it. Cheers, fella.
Yeah.
Is that it? Just you plug yourself, mate. Give yourself some love.
Oh yeah. I was going to do a podcast today, and my computer actually wouldn't start up, and then we couldn't figure out like the software. So other than that, I'm going to put one out this week. So at 305 Cast, the Arsenal Miami podcast, you can find me on Twitter. Awesome. And now a an expert member of the Gooner Talk, and don't forget to go check out that tactical breakdown, because that's the kind of content that I'm spending my hard-earned money on. It is good stuff.
It is. It really is. No, genuinely, it is.
No, it actually. I have. Believe, all jokes aside, I actually have watched it.
There you go.
And it is good. It is good.
There you go. And thank you, of course, finally to you guys in the chat box. You make this show what it is. Thank you so much for tuning in. Whether you remember or not, we care about every single one of you either way. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining in with the fantastic banter we've been having this evening. The banter was lovely, as Sol Campbell, I think, described it. So, yeah, it's been a pleasure as always. Please check out the shows coming up throughout the week. There'll be more exciting news on the horizon as well that I'm looking forward to announcing to you guys too. And other than that, it's been a pleasure as it has to spend this time with you guys and, of course, my fantastic guests. So we'll see you very, very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.